So we started the conversation, which I missed while I was in the restroom, but came back and got brought up to speed, with the idea behind using high-speed rail across California, creating efficiencies, creating better infrastructure as a whole for our state. The conversation kind of morphed into, you know, what are our critical problems at a localized level? And a lot of that, even just as you're going to leave here, is traffic, right? How do we create more efficiencies around traffic? Is it more infrastructure building for localized rail, commuter rail? Coming into the conversation of, you know, cars as someone, or the self-driving cars that can be, you know, created more efficient through neighborhoods and be able to speed. But, you know, as we kind of boiled it down is, and looking at the kind of the initiative of this group is, you know, what would be the most advantageous for the private sector, the public sector, the government agencies, is access to the information so that we can start iterating and creating efficiencies out of that. So it's, and this kind of crossed a lot of our conversations, but the point is data as infrastructure, right? Giving us the ability not only to access the data that's government labeled Caltrains, but going into the Ubers and the Googles and let them do a social experiment so we as innovators in the civic tech space can allocate our resources and our thoughts and be able to create those efficiencies. If I was to go to Palo Alto and say, if you give me your data around your traffic lights, your traffic patterns, which they're having a horrible time doing, we want to be able to access that as a company, and I can tell you I could probably find a 10% efficiency. Something as simple as changing times of the office structure so that people are coming in later or begin at earlier times. And these are the types of things that we can access, and as a group, and something that's very solvable is if we push forward the next level legislation for creating open data policies and creating an environment where you can let the private sector and public sector iterate off of the data. So that was our first idea. Second idea was coming off of water, and I think almost everyone here has been talking about drought in some capacity. What we're talking about is creating, you know, the big solutions, which we were talking about using natural resources for desalination, which they're doing in Israel, using solar power and I think possibly geothermal power to desalinate water. Is that a solution for the entire state? It's part of a solution. Looking at pipeline, possibly running it from states that actually have water. We're quite able to pipe in oil. Why can't we pipe in water? But in the bigger picture, again, we kind of circled back and said, you know, what are the inefficiencies? What don't we know? And how can we solve these problems if we don't know what's going on with the water supplies? If we can't, as residents, reduce our 25%, if we don't know what the consumption is. If I'm a business, I don't know what my consumption rate is. So going back again, full circle, is trying to find and access the information so we can start getting real baseline informed decisions based on hard data and metrics. And that's kind of our two ideas.